Duran Premium Cigars, one of the fastest-growing boutique cigar companies, provides smokers a portal into the old Cuban tradition of the perfect balance and the lost art of progressive flavor construction. Roberto Pelayo Duran began his career in tobacco over 2 decades ago in Havana, where his reputation grew within Cuban circles. The creation of Duran Premium Cigars has given Roberto the platform to introduce a series of cigars that offer the quality and construction that he perfected while in Cuba. Brands include the ultra-premium Roberto P. Duran signature line, Azan, Nea, and Baracoa. Duran uses a seed-to-humidor approach, as all of their tobacco is grown in their farms and rolled in their factory in Esteli, Nicaragua. Rollers have been carefully chosen to carry out Roberto's precise method to ensure progressive flavor in each cigar. Duran Premium Cigars invites you to make their premium your standard.
Welcome back, everyone, to Stogie Geek Show. This is our Stogie Geek segment for today. And I'm going to show you really quick, actually, how to season a desktop humidor. Have you guys done this before?
Yes.
Okay. It's kind of a pain in the butt.
Multiple times for clients.
Yes.
When they came into the shop and they just want to buy 20 sticks, throw them in the humidor and have it go. And then you got to explain to them, okay, I'm going to cure this for you and season it for you, but don't put it in the humidor for 24 hours.
Yeah. Some people say 24 hours, 48 hours. I've seen 3 to 5 days. I've seen a lot of different numbers there in terms of how long you have to let just the humidity just build inside.
Or else you will have extremely
it's not so much,
puffy cigars.
Yeah, well, it's not so much building, but it's the seasoning process that we'll talk about. So you do also need to re-season. As Rayman was describing before, he's like, if it gets too dry, and especially over the winter here in New England, this is a process that you may have to go through again to basically re-humidify your cigar. This is one of the reasons why I like to just have my coolers with the beads in them, because I don't have to go through this process. That's why I find desktop humidors to be kind of laborious. But I did find this really nice one that had my initials on it that's sitting here on the table. See, that's got my initials on it. It's pretty nice, huh?
There you go.
So I said I had to season it, and then I'm like, wow, this will make a great segment for the show. So just a couple of things before we get started. One, distilled water. Anytime you're working with your cigars, whether it be your humidor, whether it be charging your beads. Now, some of the other systems do require the propylene glycol solution. I've actually accidentally put distilled water on the gel before, but it's fine because it's distilled water. Right. If you're repairing anything you do, distilled water with cigars. Regular water has minerals in it, which is bad, and you'll get mold and stuff. So all kinds of bad things happen. Okay, so distilled water. The other thing you want for this process is preferably a sponge. If we can cut to the other camera, this one's been soaking in distilled water.
A new sponge.
A new sponge.
Brand new, out of the package.
Get your old, crummy sponge.
Saw stains all over.
Yeah. No, you don't want any soap. No soap on the sponge. So a clean, brand new sponge. Or if you designate a sponge for this process, make sure that your significant other hasn't taken the sponge and used it to wash the dishes and then put it back like in your drawer. No, that's bad. So designate a sponge for this process. Now, what you're going to do with that sponge, and I think I can actually demonstrate here. Now, the trick is, not too much water, but enough water on the sponge. What you don't want to do with this process is put too much water inside the humidor. So essentially you want the sponge to be wet enough so that it changes the color, right? Changes the color of the wood. And I think a good rule of thumb is, like, as you're doing this, like the color changing process should stay, like, while you have it open. Like, if I just wipe that part and then while I'm wiping the other parts, if that color is changing back to the lighter color, I'm going to go hit that spot again. That means whatever water I put on there is already evaporated, right? So I essentially want to wet down the entire humidor so that it changes color. Don't soak it. There shouldn't be any puddles. Puddles are bad. What you don't want the water to do is get in the seams, and then it'll expand, and then it's bad news for your humidor, and you'll get mold. As you can see, this humidor is really dry because already in the bottom, it's evaporating. So do that for your whole humidor. Then put something inside it to keep that humidity up. Whatever you have for your humidity device, I like Boveda packs, so you can throw a whole stack of Boveda. You can't ever use too many. Actually, when I first seasoned this humidor, there was not enough humidity, so it started to dry out. So I just grabbed like 5 more Boveda packs and threw them in there, and it was holding at 72, but most of the room in my humidor was taken up by Bovida packs.
Yeah.
So we'll do another segment on what you can use. I'm not a big fan of the green sponge. I also don't like any non-two-way humidity system, so I like a Bovida pack or 5 or a two-way system like Humidity Beads or really any other two-way system that's available on the market today for your humidors. But the point is, after you wet down the entire humidor, you want to go ahead and put your humidification device inside of it. Put your hygrometer. Now, I left the other nice hygrometer in the other room. If someone can grab that on my desk, that would be awesome. There's a hygrometer on my desk. This is the one that came with it. Just in like my very unscientific testing, the fact that I put 72% Bovida packs in there, this was reading 72 after about 3 days. Mm-hmm. So actually for an analog hygrometer like that's actually a pretty good one. Normally they're not as accurate, although that was very unscientific testing that I was doing.
If I could add, I like to throw my good one in there as well, just to see where that one's at.
So my good one is, I don't know what you determined as your good hygrometer. I like the one that Stogie Santa recommended to me many, many years ago. That's the one right there. Thank you very much, Mark. This is a traceable from VWR. It's a scientific company. And these are around $80 or so. They're like $76 plus shipping on their website. Amazon has it for $80. I couldn't find out easily what the shipping costs were. If you have Amazon Prime, you may want to weigh out shipping costs. You might save or might come out equal, where you can just order on Amazon. But this company did ship this one to me many years ago, like in 2011. I think I've had this. So traceable VWR. What makes this hygrometer good, you ask? It's the fact that it's a serial number certificate is provided from an ISO 17025 calibration laboratory accredited by A2LA to indicate instrument traceability to standards provided by the National Institute of Standards and Technology. The monitor must also meet CLIA specification 493.1207 for monitoring temperature and humidity. I don't exactly know what all that means. All I know is it makes it wicked awesome hygrometer. It is a wicked awesome hygrometer. It's a lot more money than your regular hygrometer. I'm sure some of that is paying for the testing and certification that it had to go through, but what it means, it's going to be very, very accurate inside of your humidor and out. I mean, inside here is around 40% humidity. I have actually used this to calibrate many different things, like thermostats will have temperature and humidity readouts on them. I've actually used it to calibrate it because I thought it was off. I use it to calibrate sometimes my other hygrometers and see where their plus or minus is at. And I noticed, and Stogie Santa did a similar, somewhat scientific study that basically says the other hygrometers can be like plus or minus 8. Mm. Now, my recommendation for the target humidity range in a humidor is between 65 and 72. Everyone has, I think, their preference within there, and that's totally fine. But I don't recommend that it go below 65 or above 72. Those are trouble ranges right there, in my opinion.
Certainly, if you're investing possibly hundreds of dollars worth of cigars, you want to invest in a decent hygrometer and keep everything in check.
Absolutely.
And they last forever.
Absolutely.
So that's one of the good things. They last forever. One thing I would mention.
Sorry, Joe. There's a link. If people are like, well, where do I get one? Okay. The links are in wiki.stogiegeeks.com. This is episode 226. Wiki.stogiegeeks.com. You can get the link to the hygrometer that I just showed you. Sorry, you were saying.
No, one thing I would mention is when you're doing the water part.
Yes.
You gotta. I find that if you just take the sponge where the corners are, how you have the corners there.
Yes.
If you just take the sponge. I kind of take my finger in the sponge and just go a little bit along the edge. Because what happens is if the cigar's on the outside, especially here in New England where I really find that the humidors get really, really finicky right around March, April, or October, November, when we have 60-degree days and then 26-degree days. That especially there.
Well, also this time of year, it's been in where the outside humidity since November has probably been 40%. Right now, you've had that all through the winter, and here it is, mid-March roughly, and they're drying out. Essentially, the winter is dried out your humidor.
Right, and what I found out from a lot of just people I speak with within who get the bigger ones, or if they get a desktop humidor and they want to have it on display, say in the living room or something like that, or office, do not put it in a corner of the room if you have convector heat. Right. Because what'll happen is when the heat kicks on there, it'll throw it off. I've had countless friends say, you know, I bought this humidor online and it's just so dry all the time. I'm like, take a picture of it. And there's especially if it's like convector baseboard and it's stuck right in that corner. Yes. It's just you know,
don't do that. The goal, we've covered on other segments as well, is the temperature and humidity are relative, which means they have to be the same.
Yes.
So if you like it at 65%, keep it at 65 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yep.
That's always my recommendation. When you buy nicer units that we'll talk about that do temperature and humidity, keep it the same. If you like them at 65, keep the temp at 65 and go from there. So temperature is definitely a factor.
And if it's in your office in a big bay window, see, this is all experience, right?
Yeah,
it's going to. If it's in your office in a big bay window and the sun's shining right on the humidor, it's bad. So make sure make sure that it's in a pretty consistent environment. You want the inside of the humidor to be consistent as possible, but you also want the outside of the humidor to be consistent.
So now you've wet the whole thing down. You've added your humidification devices in there. You've added your hygrometer. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take your sponge, wet the sponge, maybe put it in a plastic container or on top of a bag. I mean, you could put this whole container in there with a little bit of water in the bottom. It'd probably be fine. You can just wet the sponge and put it on it and discard the rest of the water outside of the humidor, obviously. And then you're just going to put that in there like that. And then you're going to close it. And then you're going to let it sit. Some people say 24 hours. I say 48 hours. Some other videos online that I've watched say 3 to 5 days. The point is, let it sit for days, a period of days. I think at least 24 hours, up to 5 days. Everything after that, I think, is overkill. When you open it, the humidity should be around 85% with no cigars in there, with your water in there. And you want to make sure that it can maintain that 85%. And then what you're going to do is, after you've let that sit for... Now, you can also use a shot glass, and I've got paper towel here that you can use if you don't have a sponge handy, although I find the little bits of the paper towel come off inside your humidor. You can use a shot glass filled with water, put that in there. There are many seasoning products from a lot of different companies that you can use too. That's fine if you want to use them. I don't think there's anything negative or cautionary tales about a humidor seasoning kit. Although stuff you can find at the dollar store tends to work just fine for seasoning. And so after a period of time, you're going to open it. It's going to be 85%. At that time, you're going to take out your sponge and shot glass or whatever. You're going to leave your humidification devices in there, and you're going to add your cigars. And then I would say after 24 to 48 hours, it should be where you like it, right? It should be between 65 and 72. Your cigars will help it absorb that extra moisture and even it out. Do keep it mostly full. I think where people run into trouble is, well, I only have 5 cigars, and you put it even in this size humidor, the cigars aren't going to level it out enough.
If I could just add, too, it should be a tighter draw when you crack it back open after the 24, 48-hour period.
It's true, because the wood's going to expand, yes.
Right, that's definitely a good thing. That's what you want.
Right.
And finding that sweet spot in your house where you're going to be able to regulate it properly.
It is true. Both of the Joes, you make a very good point that the location of your humidor is important.
Yeah.
Again, keep it at the same temperature as you like your humidity, and you should be good. And keep it constant, right? I mean, that's the whole point of a humidor, is to keep that constant temperature and humidity. But that's how you season it. We can talk more about storage. We have talked about storage. We'll talk more about cigar storage as we go through all of these fabulous shows. But that's how you season it or re-season your desktop humidor. It is a little tedious, especially the fact that you have to wait to put your cigars back in. So what I did with the cigars that were in here, because I'm in the re-seasoning because I didn't do it right the first time, I have them in a Ziploc bag with some Boveda packs, and that should be fine. Once I get it to where I want it, I'll put my cigars back in it. So.
Anything worth waiting for, you to show it the proper love, you know?
That's it. So love your desktop humidor. Season it properly. With that, we're going to take a short break, come back, and talk about the Stogies of the Week. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere.